Hello! Welcome to our second round of the Imarian Streaming Universe, I think is what we're calling it. A series of shows sponsored by various wonderful guests who will be adventuring through our world of Imaria and unleashing great adventure to your viewing eyes. I am Tome Keeper Devon of the Lindvander design team, and with me are some very interesting guests, which we will shortly get to. This is going to be what we're calling Mysteries of Mana, the second of our series.
No fully needed.
Yes. And with me here today is returning master of word weaving, Ed of the Greenwood. Thank you. Hello.
And who are you playing, Ed?
I'm playing Elminster of Shadowdale, a
Never heard of him.
reprobate of a wizard who finds himself once again in trouble. Actually, he never leaves. He's always in trouble.
So you're saying everywhere he goes, there's trouble?
Yes.
I think there might be a common factor there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. To this side, we have returning, no longer as guest, but as main member of the cast.
Oh, sorry. I should.
Yep, the whole thing.
The whole thing. True. I have to read it.
It's so small. There's so much text. It's so small.
Can you read that?
No.
Yeah.
Flooded site.
Flooded, Skylight, Masterpiece, Sage, Fractal, Great Strand, Continuum, Professor, Sacrifice.
I can read it now.
And who are you and what are you playing?
I'm Sarah, and I am playing
What you just heard.
what you just heard. She goes by Continuum, and I am playing a Dreamwalker Sage.
Ooh.
Mhm.
We're going to leave your description for a little bit later on, because there were some things that happened in the last game.
Yeah, if you saw Destiny of Worlds, something happened to Continuum.
And if you haven't seen Destiny of
Indeed.
Worlds, why are you here right now? Go watch that and then come back here.
So you can see what happened.
We just lost like 38 subscribers.
Brand new to the show, you probably don't even know who he is, but he looks great.
Wow, Merrick, you got a real
Awesome.
facelift. No.
I be Sky Captain Flynt. Good to see you. I'll be playing myself in today's game. I'm afraid Mark Meer wasn't able to make it, but I decided to stand in for him.
I was wondering when Mark was going to show up, and he didn't show up, and I guess he was hijacked.
Clearly something befell him, but here I am and ready to play. Roll the dice, as it were.
Skyjacked. He was skyjacked by
Well
Skyjacked.
said.
Welcome.
And who's this fella?
Yeah, last and certainly least.
Oh, I did definitely least. Hi, everyone. Tommy here, returning again as Loholt Lindvander, the Time Paladin Bod, who was the ragtag toss-around of the last of Destiny of Worlds. Being pushed around, told to become king, doesn't want to become king, forced to become king, yada, 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 lobster bisque. And we're here for another round. And, of course, part of the Imarian Streaming Universe, this here on Six Sides, it's it's not a not-for-profit. It is definitely
It's turned out that way.
it is definitely that way, yeah. It is an opportunity to get some legends together to play some really fun D&D without any real strings attached, really. And it gives us a chance to explore strange new worlds and seek out D&D life and species and civilizations, and to boldly go where everyone has kind of gone since 1978.
Well said.
Roll some dice, shall we?
All right. Yes, we might as well jump straight in. We're going to be beginning with Loholt this time, as I think we didn't do that last time, and I felt bad. No, I didn't. But anyway.
No, don't feel bad. I'm the punching bag. It's fine.
Yes. You are where?
So, at the end of Destiny of Worlds, Loholt had his memory wiped of the entire adventure.
Yes, he did.
So I, as the player, am going to have a very fun time trying very much not to metagame when certain things come to light. That being said, Loholt's daily adventures are working with his fellow companions, Rowessa, Embrowry, Gabriel, and the rest of the squad, and we are working to try and continue to liberate the continent of Chrymaris from the invading Eltherian knights, the Rennick Knights.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, they're not really invading anymore.
No, they're more like we've busted up their empire, and they are now a series of warlords in a war-torn society. It is absolute dystopia and catastrophe, and everybody's looking to Loholt and several other of the, dare I call them heroes of the realms, the leaders of their factions, to try and restore some sort of peace. But Loholt keeps getting yanked into different directions and not really knowing what's going on. He just gets visions and weird stuff. And as of late, he's getting visions, memories that are very foggy, like weird dreams of bearded wizards telling him to take a crown or something. And he's getting small desires to pick up the crown and become a king, even though it is not in any interest for him to do so, because he doesn't want to be stuck with bureaucracy when he feels that his talents and skills can be traversing time-space and the realm, helping those in need. Being the paladin that he is, knowing that monarchy tends to be wore down with bureaucracy, and he won't be able to exercise the ability to vanquish those that are oppressing while sitting on a throne covered in red tape and advisors telling him what to do.
And now, yes, as you had mentioned, your memory was indeed wiped.
He's wiped, and he doesn't even know how or why.
No. However, as tends to be the case with these sort of affairs, little vestiges of your subconscious have created visions in your sleep. So when you are, weary and you're getting what little rest you do in a rebellion and resistance movement, you do dream of indeed bearded wizards and
handsome bearded wizards,
red-haired Iltharians, and super geniuses.
Geniuses.
Every time you wake up, it's like breath on a mirror. You just so almost barely keep it all in your head, and then it vanishes almost as quickly as it arrived. You don't really know what these dreams mean. Oftentimes in the past, you would have dreams that were portents
visions,
and meant things, and you're not really sure what these ones mean. But so far, nothing has really come of it. And so for the last little while, you've been having these dreams, but it hasn't really led you anywhere.
I think the only people he would have talked to about this is his partner Rowessa and his best friend Imbrari. I think they would have had conversations about his dreams, but I don't think he would have mentioned the red-haired Eltharian, because he thinks it's coming to pass. And then he'll go about his daily strategies of roaming the land and trying to stop those of the remaining Eltharian empire who are trying to hold on to the fragments of oppression.
So where would you be found on a typical day where there isn't constant warfare and conflict going? One of the downtime days where everyone's sort of licking their wounds and strategizing for the next onslaught.
I mean, there's a few central spots in Crimeris. There's the old fort city of Vandoria, where his family once reigned before they were destroyed by the Eltharians. I think he would be there. And I think he would be, when he is not going to the front line or dealing with politics, trying to, encourage him to do things he doesn't want to do, he would probably just traverse the landscape with some of his companions. In this case, for the sake of brevity, I think he would be on the outskirts, we'll say perhaps having one of those ominous thoughts or dreams, and maybe he's just going out to a hilltop or to a cliff face to stare out into the horizon, into the sunlight, to remember his companions that have passed and some of the other visions that he's had, to try and sort out what's going on.
And as you gaze out at the slowly regenerating and regrowing fields that are beginning to make a return to what they, according to people you've talked to who are of older and elderly age, the land used to be much more fertile and green than it is now. It's starting to come back, and the sun is warm on your face as you gaze out, pondering various things, and then a huge shadow looms over top of you, and as you gaze up to the clouds, you see that they begin to break and fly apart as a gargantuan form, looks to be artificial and sort of like the hull of a ship, begins to descend down from the sky and land fairly quietly, interestingly enough, just a couple of feet away from you, as from the deck we have Sky Captain Flynt. Now, if you would be a dear and maybe explain exactly what the ship looks like, and then of course what you yourself look like. Other than, I mean, I think we can assume what you look like.
I look a bit like I do now. I'm a gift, dressed in the airs of a pirate captain, an airship captain, so it is, standing upon the deck and looking out over yes. The ship itself is a marvel, 100 feet long, a sky-worthy vessel too, ship-shape, as it were. And from the deck, this figure yells out to yous, Aster! Be ye Loholt Linvander.
Now, have I seen any Lunalian vessel that looks like this?
You have seen similar vessels several months ago when you did a. You weren't remember. You don't remember.
I won't remember that. That's why.
I imagine you've seen smaller vessels that would have been
Like the one we smashed into the Emperor.
Well, we don't know about that.
Yeah, we do.
But you would have seen smaller vessels. This one is certainly reminiscent. I think you would know this is a Lunalian vessel.
Okay.
And you would know that there is larger ones that are occasionally break the clouds every now and again in some of the southern seas.
So, Halion and Einan, the two other Linvander Zanku that survived, were brought down by a Lunalian vessel in the different colors, and he knows enough about Lunalian Empire. They know a lot, or the Lunalian provinces. We know enough about the Violet Wraiths and the color schemes of that. What's the color scheme of this?
This is not a
particular
violet ship.
It's not a violet ship.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm not immediately on guard. But is it bearing blue and silver like the provinces?
That is up to Captain Flynt.
What is your ship color scheme?
Well, who am I working for currently?
You're currently working for the War Council of Lunalia, but whether or
Right.
not you fly their colors is entirely up to you.
Well, as a privateer, I reckon I'd be flying the flag of whoever I'm in the employ of. So blue and silver it is then, yes?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, so the sword will be casually there, and I will look up, the wind kind of blowing from the propellers. I look, and you see you shouted Loholt, and he looks up and says, "Indeed, I am. And who do I have the pleasure of speaking with again?"
I be Sky Captain Flynt.
I find it interesting that you come to find me here.
Well, I was told where to find you. In fact, I've been contracted to transport you. Seems you're a big muck-a-muck hero, is that correct?
He looks behind to see the camp where his companions are and stuff, and says, "It's a little bit odd that he took this time to be alone." And then suddenly there's a ship appearing.
How about that?
How about that? Forgive my trepidation, friend. I have been known to do many things, and I've known to make many enemies. I wish for you to state your intentions other than just transport me.
Oh, many enemies. Well, I hope you won't count me among them. No, I'm your conveyance, so I am. Are you telling me you weren't aware of this here trip that you're about to take?
At this point, I think Loholt will do all the classics, the detect divine sense and the perception, and because it's a PC, we'll just go through with the role playing. But he's just like you see him studying, like looking around the ship. He's making sure that he's very skittish, but not fearful.
I can tell you that there are no undeads, fiends, phase, any of that stuff anywhere near the vessel.
Well,
Let me ask
are
you
you
this.
thinking I'm some sort of beast of the pit? Is that it? I can assure you, I've no truck with the infernal or the abyssal, friend.
And I've never seen a Githyanki before, right?
Probably not. You could assume it's maybe an elf with a skin condition.
Wow. Forgive my ignorance toward what you maybe hail familiarly, but anyone
You've
else?
never seen me like, have you? Well, nobody really has, even though who know the Githyanki well. For that, be me people.
History check? Bardic history?
Probably
What
more
I
Arcana.
Arcana?
I think, yeah.
we'll go with a naked 9.
You're pretty sure they're called Jiff Yankee.
Who sent you?
Why, I've been sent by the War Council itself. It seems that you're in due for, well, shall we say accolades. Big hero, as I mentioned before. They want to fit you, they want to pay their respects.
Okay. Loholt is just like, what? I don't believe I did anything that warrants an accolade from the Lunalian War Council.
Well, they're of a different mind entirely. Are you telling me that you weren't aware of this at all? Usually the passengers at least know that they're bound for a trip.
I have no idea what's going on.
Well then, shall I send you regrets? Is that it?
No, but give me some time to at least allow my companions to know that I'm about to embark on something.
Of course. Say your goodbyes. We're in no particular rush. But don't lollygag too long now, mate.
So I look down the cliff face toward the camp, and
There's a little bit of a hubbub. Some people saw the ship descend, and there's a contingent of Silver Sword horsemen getting ready to venture out and make sure you're okay.
So I'll hold up Amberfang and make it glow. Just kind of wave them off so they can see me as if things are fine.
You see Gabriel go.
Yeah, he just and he pulls out this small crystalline figurine, and he whispers to it and says, "For expediency, my friend, I need you now." And the crystalline cracks and kind of breaks apart and then reassembles again into a figurine. But the stuff that comes out of it's like this golden sand that then explodes into this blast of light. And you see suddenly, as if the light itself was carrying Loholt up, you find him on a spectral Pegasus. Yellow, shining, bright light blasting off. And then he says, "I'll be back in a moment."
Well, of course. I don't know if you need my services. Looks like you've got a ride of your own.
And it just, and I'll fly back down. I'll embrace my friends, my companions. I'll give them a quick jaunt. I assume they will try to argue about coming with me.
Yes.
It's up to you whether they would stow away on the ship or if they're going to hold the fort here and trust that I would go on this quest.
I would say that even if they were to argue to go with you, the Silver Sword generals cannot allow their entire best warrior team to go off on some random
He's got a hot date
mission.
Gets yanked. Don't ruin it.
Am I getting any sort of visions from my dreams from what Tommy remembers, what Loholt doesn't remember
I
about
don't
that
think
airship
so.
battle?
Not at
Okay,
this
so
stage.
this is very foreign.
Yes.
And am I feeling any trepidation at all off this character? I'm getting genuinity on all my...
I mean, he certainly is a handsome devil.
He is, definitely. Well, I know I've got Banquo to help me fly down, so if I get stuck, I'll know what to do. I will let the team know that I will just entertain this captain, and I'll be back as quickly as possible. And I'll fly my way back up. I'll fly my way toward the dock of the ship, hover, and wait for invitation. All right, I'll come with you.
Very well, then. Welcome, Mr. Invander, aboard the Manticore.
They eat Pegasus. I'll fly down onto the dock and despark Banquo back into the figurine.
Surrounding you, of course, are the various crew members. Now, as a Lunalian vessel, it doesn't have quite as much rigging and necessary workmanship that would be needed on seafaring vessels, so survives on roughly half the crew. Approximately a total of 20, including the captain here. There is a Goliath currently going around checking various aspects. There is what appears to be a gnome ordering some people around. There is a dragonborn woman tending to someone who appears to be a little bit injured, as well as a goblin who is currently tinkering with some kind of mechanism. Looks to be some kind of interesting ballista contraption, but yet with no bolts, just a large crystal embedded in the structure. And gazing from the aft castle, sort of down his nose, is a winged Ariel elf dressed in what appear to be robes, rather unassuming, but he does wield his scythe, kind of just he's sort of lazily leaning against as he gazes down at the rest of the crew.
I have done more ambitious things, so if you don't mind, I'd like to get this accolade resolved.
Makes no difference to me once you're taken there. I assume I'll collect me coin and you can do as you like.
Thank you, Flynt.
The Goliath approaches and gestures.
Ah, Mr. Chumsquid, what can I get for
Aye,
you?
Captain. We send this one into the guest room with the rest.
Well, he's an honoured guest, of course, so make sure he's kept comfortable, bosun.
He hastily puts away some manacles.
Aye, Captain.
Mr. Hooper!
Oh, yes!
He calls to the gnome.
Come. You'd best meet our guest. This is Loholt Linvander. This be Mr. Hooper, me first mate.
Pleasure to meet you.
Greetings! Can I interest you in some turnips?
I believe I'll be fine for now.
Very
Thank you.
He's always pushing the root vegetables on us.
It's good vitamins, I hear.
Indeed. Fiber as well. Now then, if there's anything else I can get you, I'll have Mr. Chumsquid see you to your quarters.
As I follow Mr. Shumsquid, I look over the edge at the camp, and I catch eyes to some of the companions and just be like... and they're probably all like...
The large mountain man looms and has to stoop every time there's a doorway to kind of lead you deeper into the vessel itself. And as they do, the Ariel elf, the winged one, robes, kind of just settles himself down next to you, Captain. You would know this to be Arcanist Gwathrin, one of the Lunalian supplied crew members, the regular mage that they make sure is aboard every ship in case they need emergency spell slots to unload into the crystals to keep the ship aloft or to power something.
And what be his name again?
Is it wise to have so many surfacers aboard our vessel?
What was the fellow's name?
Gwathrin.
Gwathrin. Mr. Gwathrin, we do as we are bid, and we do as we're paid to do. When we're being paid to do this, so we'll do it.
If the Ancient One that we have down below is to be believed, the two of them together could take this entire ship should they decide to.
Well, I think I'd have something to say about that. But this Ancient One, I've not laid eyes on him yet.
Yes, he calls himself Elminster.
Say again.
Shadowdale, Elminster, Aurum. He's a bit of a crackpot.
Elminster. There's a name I've heard before. I think I'd best have a word with our prisoner, if you don't mind.
If you say so. Keep a sharp eye. I don't trust any of these surface dwellers.
Indeed. You've made your bigotries abundantly clear on multiple occasions, but I'll ask you to belay such talk in front of our guests.
Yes, Captain. And he flies off.
Now then, I'll make me way down to the brig, I suppose.
The guest quarters.
Guest quarters. I don't employ euphemism if I can help it.
Fair enough. Descending down into the hold, Mr. Chumsquid the Goliath kind of just sort of shakes your hand with two of his fingers.
Well met.
Don't be scratching my ship. I just got it fixed up.
I'll certainly do my best.
Keep that sword sheathed.
I don't have a sheath for it.
Well, then keep it in your belt.
Have you seen the size of it?
Fine, keep your toothpick away from me wood.
As you wish, sir.
Euphemisms.
I will carefully hold the blade and walk in to
Okay.
wherever he guides me.
He guides you into the guest quarters, which are they? I would assume they're reasonably lavish.
Aye, for him, yes.
Yes,
I
to
reckon
give
so.
good. And maybe off to the side, then you have a
Neranian, a young Neranian woman. Yeah, she's about 6'8", brown hair, olive skin.
That's what I see.
yes.
And I've never seen. Yes.
Well, you've seen Iranians.
An Iranian. Well met. Loholt and Vendor. I assume you're another guest on the ship.
Oh yes, I'm a guest.
Yes.
And next to Continuum is
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Elminster of Shadowdale at your service.
Yes.
this does you get a bit of a little fracture headache for a second there.
There you go, sir.
So I look at this.
Another sort of ice cream type headache, a little chill.
I believe I'm experiencing a little bit of deja vu.
Yes.
All over again.
I
have that effect.
Would he still have his old card?
Yes, he would.
Probably.
collect them all.
It's likely been stuffed away somewhere and you haven't thought about it because you don't even know that it exists.
But when the adventure was over, now we're getting technical. When the adventure was over, he would have obviously cleaned his gear and taken things off. Would he not have emptied and saw this piece of paper?
I'm going to invoke the rules of perception filter in that it was something you just didn't think
Because
about.
my memory was burned out, it would have just been a blank piece of paper. Done.
You're gonna Westworld him, are you?
That's Westworld it is. No. I like to keep him on his toes.
Doesn't look like anything to me.
You see the look on his, he was beating a sweat there for a minute. All right.
Yeah, business cards. Get me every time.
Thank you.
Allow me to break the fourth wall.
Captain Flynt, as you descend into the bowels of your vessel, Mr. Chumsquid, of course, is coming back. Hey, very good, Captain. I have just seen Loholt into his quarters with the other two.
Very good, then. Now, I think I'll have a word with our unwilling traveler.
Hmm.
The prisoner.
Yes. Yes,
Look
of course.
at me, using euphemism already.
Right, yes. Very good. I shall go and do our last checks and ensure that we're shipshape for takeoff.
See that you do, bosun.
Yes.
Now then,
The whole ground shakes slightly as he steps up the stairs.
these other two passengers that we have, are they secured in a brig, or are they merely in a room?
Well, they haven't really been giving us any trouble, so we put them in the room. The one in the robes, we've made sure to tie one thumb to his belt, so he can't be doing none of that black magic stuff. But the other one seems harmless.
Very well, then.
One thumb.
I feel like that's going to stop you.
Yeah, I don't think they get magic, do they?
Thank you, Mr. Chip.
At least you left me one to pick me nose with.
So I shall dismiss Mr. Chumsquid and proceed to where our guests are located.
Very good.
Enter in the room. I'll take them both in. I know what they look like, and my eyes will settle on this fella. Now then, I hope everything's been to both of your satisfaction, but I must ask a question, friend. Be your name Elminster?
I answer to that, yes.
Known as the Sage of Shadowdale?
Yes, on occasion by... Yes.
Really? Well, it appears the Manticore is blessed by the presence of a celebrity, as it were. Perhaps not in this realm, but I've traveled a few in my time. Faerun, in particular.
Yes. Yes, I have the honor to be a inhabitant Faerun, yes, and some people have heard of me, and some people wish they hadn't. Yes.
Well, I'm one of the people who has heard of yous, and I'm wondering how it is that you haven't reduced this ship to cinders. If the stories are to be believed.
Because I want to see what they want to do.
Well, I admire your restraint, just on a personal level. I be Captain Flynt, captain of this vessel.
Well met.
Indeed.
I intend no harm to you, or your crew, or your ship.
Glad I am to hear it as well, for if the stories are to be believed, you're a mage with few peers.
Well,
So that,
the ones who disagreed with me tended not to survive, so good PR has been had by all.
this is immediately triggering me in that mages of this caliber or repute don't exist anymore.
Yes, that would be about correct. The only ones that are around are probably very, very keen on hiding
Yes.
and not revealing themselves.
Very interesting indeed.
You must have a few stories to tell there, Mr. Elminster.
Well, yes, but I find myself in another world, and it's always dangerous to tell stories out of school, so to speak. So I would confine myself to speaking of Loholt, the man who would not be king, for instance. Hello.
That triggered something.
This whole you're getting all kinds of headaches.
Yeah, she's just smiling at me like she knows me, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm afraid, have we met before?
Yes. You just don't remember.
Really?
Yes.
Well, all kinds of chicanery and shenanigans. But forgive me, miss, I've not introduced myself. I be Captain Flynt.
Captain Flynt, pleasure to meet you. I am Flooded Skylight Masterpiece Sage Fractal Greatsword Continuum Professor Sacrifice.
Do you have a shorter version of that I might employ in conversation?
Oh, of course. You may call me Continuum.
Well met. And you're with the sage of Shadowdale over here, are you?
In a manner of speaking, yes, I am.
I'd received no instruction as to tying your thumbs to your belt or whatnot.
Oh, I don't come with instructions.
Good to know. And I think we're all going to get along famously then.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
You,
Look at what table I'm at.
you, Mr. Linlander. What's this about you not wanting to be a king?
I don't know how you didn't know. I don't know how you knew. Blip. Where did you? I don't. You'll have to explain yourself.
You told us
How?
over and over again.
I don't understand how you know this. I have never met you before.
Oh, yes, you have. A veil. You've heard of the veil?
Yes.
A veil has been placed over your thoughts.
Interested. Now, have we met before?
I don't believe so, sir.
Well,
And
I spent some time in the yawning portal, you know.
Well, yes, but usually when I'm at the yawning portal, it's for about 10 seconds, long enough to grab Mert or his lady by the elbow and take into the back room. Because the problem with the yawning portal, as you know, it's a sort of crossroads, and you never know who's looking and listening. The room is always full of chatter, and I'm usually just in to do one thing and drop a word in a shell-like ear and then move on.
I see. I'm a man who enjoys a drink and a tale myself, so I spent many an hour in the yawning portal when I find myself in Waterdeep. I was last there on open mic night. Have you met Mike? Very open fella.
I've opened my guitar. No, I won't say that.
Well, I set you up for a ribald brandy joke.
Yes. Well, when you're in that tap room, you can't help but get the shaft.
Somewhere, Elisa is just.
Yes.
There's a lurch as the ship begins its ascension procedure.
And there we are. We'll have you to your destinations in no time at all, I'm sure. In the meantime, I'd like to invite you all to dine in the captain's quarters tonight, at me table.
Appreciated.
Indeed.
Have we met?
It would be my honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
We have also met.
Yes, we have. Most definitely.
Could someone please enlighten me as to what's going on?
You're Loholt.
I very much so believe that, yes.
Yes. Linvander.
Of the Zayn Ku, understood.
Yes.
And your
Continuum.
continuum, and we have met.
Yes. And you do a little bit with time, but I think I could teach you a few more things. This is, we could continue your lessons.
You are of the Vale.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember a lady who looked after you on that Syrian night?
That would trigger not trigger things from memories, but that would make him trepidatious.
I think at this point you're starting to remember those dreams you've been having.
I don't believe an Otherian would ever look after me.
Uh,
Their direct purpose is to
I
destroy
can't
people
remember
like
her
us.
name because it's been a few months and I had business back home, but she was 8.
Adira.
That's it. Adira.
Sorry, I'm trying to act this out. Explosion of information coming. What's going on with Loholt right now? Tell me what I'm getting.
Why don't you give me a wisdom saving throw?
Oh, that's not bad. A wisdom save.
Mm-hmm.
29.
Okay. The cloud, the fog that you haven't really noticed had been there previously, and your mind is beginning to adjust itself slightly. And as it does so, you realize that it's tied to Amberfang. And you feel like if you were to maybe set it down, maybe not be in contact with it, your mind, that fog might go with it.
So I'll back up, and I'll place my sword in a safe corner, because at this point I don't think he's fully ready to trust what's going on, because he feels like this is a very weird... I don't think it's hostility, but just he doesn't keep
This is very
Emberfang.
weird.
He doesn't have Emberfang far from him, so I'll make sure that it's within somewhat reach.
There is a sort of pull to kind of not do what you're about to do, but as you have rolled reasonably well on that save, you are able to resist this. And as you let go, it's like drinking from a fire hose. All of a sudden, just tons of information rushes into your mind all at once.
Oh, of course, you didn't recognize me. I was old before, but now I'm young. I'm
Hot.
You gave your life.
yes.
I remember the veil. Adira,
Adira.
where's she now?
I took Continuum after Merrick.
Merrick's.
They saved
How much
me.
do you remember?
Merrick's is still quite foggy. You have a lot.
Merrick's.
You have Elminster, and you have a little,
Merrick's
like a
the
shadow of
Kenneth.
Adira in there.
Do you remember much talking, much glib stuff, helping you with this? Dice, many things.
Oh, and surely you remember our last meeting, the card game where I won all that money from you.
I don't remember that, but if I do owe you anything, let me know.
I wasn't there for that one.
Deception?
That's opportunity knocking right there.
What am I rolling with here?
Oh, it's not
Insight.
very good at all. It's
Insight?
only I think it's a 5 on the die.
Dirty 20.
Ah, it's a 13. 13, not my best lie at all. I'm only joking, I say, before you even have a chance to say anything. Having some fun with the amnesia.
Very funny.
I thought so.
Must be good at parties.
I know what it's like to forget things too.
If I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
we were not to meet again.
Well, but there was a mission.
I was not to
restore
live
Lady.
again.
It is necessary to restore the lady. But I understand that my reappearance here in this world of yours has caused some trepidation. Wherefore, tying my thumb to my belt because, I don't know, I need to hold my breeches up?
Yeah, I am sorry about
That's
that. They were
okay.
very specific in their instructions, and I doubt that's doing much of anything.
If I remember correctly, Captain, I don't believe this one would be a threat.
Yes, I am very non-threatening.
Well, I reckon we can undo that for
Oh,
now, just
thank
so
you.
you can hold a knife and
Yeah.
fork, bro.
I just have to expect him to go, disintegrate.
But if you don't mind, once we arrive at our destination,
course.
we'll...
No, of course.
There is another smaller lurch as the ship reaches the ley line and begins to cruise along the road. the highway.
There we are. As he pats the hull, it's like, there, Manticore.
Are we high enough up that should there be a problem?
Oh, I think we'd suffer quite a bit of damage falling from this height, but let's hope that doesn't occur. I've only just paid off this thing.
Okay. But if we're high enough up, that would give us time to stop.
One
A
would
crash,
hope, and
yeah.
I'm very glad to have a mage of your caliber aboard, should such an incident occur.
Do you know why my memory was taken from me? Why you were hidden from my thought? And who did it?
I have no idea.
I tend to lose my own thoughts. Don't think anyone took them. I wonder. When you find out, will you tell me?
I'll do my best.
This sounds either it's some natural calamity or property, or there's something nefarious afoot. One of the two.
Well, like I've learned in my past, fate tends to weave itself in interesting ways, and I believe this encounter is yet another interesting weave.
The weave. Yes. I think that's very well said. The weave.
I will
Yes.
trust this mystery.
She weaves in interesting ways. I serve her.
You see Loholt kind of relax a bit. He sits down. just gets comfortable and just tries to concentrate on those dreams to see if he can get as much detail back as possible. And he'll be
A little bit of time, you might be able
introspective
to-
for a little bit. He'll be.
Yeah.
Do you not recall a large battle? You in the air? Flying around?
Again, it's like watching it through a long, foggy tunnel. It's like someone else doing it, almost. Someone very far away.
Whatever has happened and transpired in the time that we traveled, something or someone has made my memory a fog.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be for safekeeping or for ill intent, I do not know. But I believe whatever Captain Flynt was hired to do has brought me to Lunalia for some reason or another. An accolade, perhaps.
That
As
is
you
my
said.
understanding, yes.
I am to be commended for some actions I don't remember. Perhaps
You were-
something to do.
You were very heroic.
Yes, we can both attest to it.
You
Mhm,
were there.
mhm. I was
Mhm.
there, and I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember so much now.
Cool. Yes. And eventually, you will see it in reruns.
Yes. Every Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
Sorry.
You don't have to do it again.
No. No.
But you may be heroic. I think you have it in you.
Thank you.
Yes, but we're having dinner, so please don't be heroic right
Yes, of
here,
course.
right now.
Shall we go to your place of eatery?
Indeed, captain's quarters. I'll see you there in a moment, that you'll freshen up.
I'll try and make myself look less
Well, the
road
real
worn.
question is, do you go to dinner in your armor?
And do you take the sword?
Yes.
So that's the weird thing. So he sees Amberfang. Would I have made the conclusion that Amberfang is protecting me from this?
Amberfang is known to be something that protects your mind. Someone getting in and doing memory modification to you should not be possible while you hold it. So this is an inverse of how it should actually be working. Which, if you'd like to make an insight check, you might be able to decipher why.
Yeah. We'll do that right now. Insight, 11.
Whatever did this to you is of great enough power to block even the strength of the Elder Dragons. There are only a very scant few things that exist on this world that could do such a thing. One of them being Elder Dragons, the other being some ancient and powerful being, possibly rhyming with Gelminster.
Did you do this?
No, or at least if I did,
The
I
captain.
have no knowledge.
The captain was speaking in shock and awe of your presence. I remember various thoughts of your skills with mana weaving, and this land hasn't seen anyone of that level of weave in such some time.
Well, the ladies say things they tend to exaggerate as my prowess.
I have said no such thing.
Oh, I don't mean this lady.
But yet, could you have done this to protect me from something?
Well, I could have, but unless somebody did it to me, I think I'd remember doing it. Because one of the most important things about being a powerful wizard is to do things for good reasons, and only to do what is needful and not pop off across the sky blowing up things. That's for movie wizards.
He is a good wizard.
Well, Loholt has been through weird things like this before, so he will remain patient. So I'll stay dressed in armor. I don't think he's quite. I think he trusts what's going on here. I think he even trusts the captain a little. I just don't know. He knows enough about resurgencies that other crew members that he's met eyes with on the ship might not have the best intentions.
There were a couple who definitely eyed you.
The Ariel elf.
There was him for sure. There were some others that definitely weren't too happy to be bringing Azay and Ku aboard their ship.
Well, I will maintain this look, but I will polish it up a bit to look, and I will be bringing Amberfang.
As you touch it and the hilts once more, you do sort of feel that fog, but you're able to keep it. Doesn't remove the memories, but it does sort of cloud them again and make it difficult to recall. You have to struggle, like when you're trying to remember a dream that's quickly fading. You have to really grasp and hold on to it, and force yourself to remember those things, but they are there. But you almost get the feeling that the blade itself seems to be trying to stop you from remembering these things.
I'll just keep it nearby.
As for
yeah.
the captain's dinner, did you alert the cook, Mr. Jimsy, your halfling chef, that there would be additional guests?
Indeed, I did.
Whoa.
I'd requested squab, I think. We'll have squab tonight.
We always have squab.
Ah, good. Good.
I shot this one this morning.
Ah, well done, Mr. Jimsy. Well done. Now be sure to use your culinary magics. Ha ha ha.
Oh, yes. It'll be one of the best squabs you've ever had.
I'm glad to hear.
It's my dinner special right for the captain. Squab the deck.
I like that. I like that. Squab the dick. Very good indeed. Very good. Tell me, Mr. Jimsy, what manner of wine do we have to serve our guests?
Oh, well, we've got some of the... Do you want to give them the usual, or from the captain's reserve?
The captain's reserve.
Well, very good. Then we have some excellent sun wines.
Yes. I think
Mana infused and everything. Should have a nice kick.
Yes, I think so. Honored guest, as mentioned, and one of them is a celebrity, no less.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's Loholt, right?
Well, perhaps around here. But in the greater scheme of the multiverse, well, it seems our prisoner is, in fact, someone of great renown.
Oh. There's a slight flutter to your left, which you recognize as the Arcanist, as he kind of just settles down gently next to you. You've spoken with him, then?
I have indeed, and he, as it turns out, is from a world I visited before.
I see. So he's not of here.
Does not appear to be, no.
Then is that the reason why he is polluting the streams of mana?
Well, that's hardly my wheelhouse, not really my bailiwick. More your department.
I gazed upon him and I saw the same thing in my visions that I see each time I divine the source. He's a twisted and evil man, I warn you.
Twisted and evil? Well, that hardly jibes with what I've heard of him in me travels. But, as I say, it is your department after all.
The only thing that we can ascertain is that whatever is causing these chaotic issues within the ley lines, whatever is sending our ships plummeting to the floors and disrupting my casting, he is behind it.
Perhaps not intentionally. A being
Intentionally
of power,
or
certainly.
not. Intentionally or not. There is a reason we are bringing him to the War Council.
Indeed. And bring him I shall, sir. Bring him I shall. Now then, you're not questioning how I run my ship, are you?
Of course not, Captain.
Ah, good, because such behavior would flirt with mutiny.
Would never dream of it.
Good. Glad I am to hear it.
He just kind of flutters off.
I believe we have ourselves a friend. Do we enter?
Yes.
Captain?
Welcome, friends. Please, seat yourselves.
Oh,
Mr. Jimsy the Halfling begins to set out plates. They're already preheated and everything.
I'll make sure Continuum is seated, and when they're comfortable, then I'll take an empty open seat.
You're in for a treat, Mr. Jimsy's quite the chef.
Oh, I just keep doing things until it tastes good.
Well, you keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Jimsy. No complaints from your captain, at any rate.
Of course, Captain.
Now then, might I interest you all in some wine?
Absolutely.
Mr. Jimsy begins to pour modest yet also slightly generous helping of wine each.
Thank you.
It is a sort of has like a saffron glow to it. There's little sparkles of little motes kind of tinkling in the glasses.
I believe that there's a saying, old says it's low bellore is what they say for the cheers, we call it. Good company, thank you, Captain, and good to see you again.
Aye, here's to swimming with bow-legged women. Oh, pardon me, madam. Salty sailor talk. I must watch myself in the presence of a lady.
Thank you for the hospitality.
Of course, and to your health, sir.
Ooh. It's good wine?
It is. It has a bit of it's got that fruity linger. I tried so hard.
Yeah. The tannins aren't quite there yet, but yeah.
It has sort of.
I remember fruity linger.
Ah, yes, good
She
man,
was-
fruity. Good
It
man.
lingers exotic.
Oh, gee, that's right.
There's a warmth and sort of a tingle, and it does sort of seem to be infused with mana itself. You can definitely recognize the flavor of magic as it goes down.
So I am making the sip look like more than it is. I am not drinking deep and making the glass empty in any sort of hurry.
Nursing it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want it to be refilled constantly.
Oh, don't worry about that. This is the good stuff. You're getting.
Oh no.
We'll bring out the rot gut if you want to chug.
Oh no, this is fine. This is actually it's quite good. What is your source? Where do you?
There is a lurch as the ship bucks slightly, causing your wine to spill all over your.
Oh,
Well, I do apologize for that.
Followed by another one
I dropped my tongue.
and some shouts from outside the door.
If you'll excuse me, I think I might check in on that.
Loholt will just down the last of his, because he's like, that's a little too. He's not an air flyer, so it's like.
A little bit of turbulence.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
If you need spells,
But of course. Well, perhaps we'd best see what this is about, if you don't mind.
Do you mind if we assist?
But of course. As in, of course I don't mind, not of course I do mind.
Understood.
so I stick my thumb in my belt as if it's no pipe.
Stepping out on deck, there is a red, sort of a crimson-like mist that's beginning to fly through the air. It seems billowing off of the hull from beneath the ship. And there's another lurch as the ship descends approximately 7 meters and then sort of rights itself. The whole crew is starting to tie themselves down to various things to make sure that none of them go overboard, as there's serious turbulence, which is very strange for a ley line highway. It should normally be quite smooth sailing.
Mr. Hooper, what's going on? In the name of the Nine Hells.
I don't know, Captain. Perhaps it's one of those skips.
Aye, it could be. All right, everyone. Batten down the hatches.
Is this normal, this red mist?
Not normal at all, sir, nor is all this lurching about we're doing.
There's another, as the whole ship turns about 90 degrees and then rights back up again.
I look for something solid to hang on to.
There's a couple things.
Right here.
Elminster just has one hand on his pipe and just goes, like,
Yeah,
just shifts around.
I'll dash up to the. Is it the bow, the front of the ship?
Yes.
The bow is the stern is the back, the bow is the front.
The bow is the
I don't know what.
In their
The bow
okay.
is the front.
I don't know. Tommy knows nothing about ships, so Loholt's trying to pretend he knows what he's talking about. So I'll run up to the bow and hold on tightly and lean over to see what's coming.
Make a perception.
Okay. Yeah.
You're on
Perception.
fire today.
I'm tempted
11.
to say your cookies coming
But
right
my
back
minimum
at
was
you.
15.
Okay. So as you gaze out from the bow, the wind blowing past you, it makes it a little bit difficult to see. You can feel your eyes drying out very quickly. Beneath you is the strange light-bending ley line. It's not really something you can physically see. There's like a bit of a glow. It's mostly just clouds billowing out in all directions like fluffy white snow on a mountaintop. But there is another sort of skip, and for a moment you think it was almost like you blinked and the ley line itself was just gone for a split second. The mist continues to billow out from the ley line, kind of cascading around the ship, kind of tossing and turning, causing what appears to be some kind of physicality as it impacts on the hull and lurches the ship around. And then every now and again, you'll notice again as the ley line will sort of vanish for a split second, the whole ship will have to catch itself as it has to adjust to compensate.
So I'll turn back, lean against the back, and look to the captain. Captain, I don't believe I know much about these ley lines, but it appears that they're having severances. They are cut, and the red might be bleeding.
Indeed, Mr. Lindvander, a bit of that going around these days. I was hoping not to encounter it ourselves. Make sure that you have hold of something we could be dropping at any moment.
Oh,
Guathrin just sort of alights a little bit over the deck, just keeps side-eyeing Elminster.
All right, mere
you.
technical difficulties.
What can you do to smooth our ride, friend?
I can attempt to feed my own mana-laden self into the engine to keep us aloft a bit stronger, assuming that everything works as intended.
Well, be quick about it then.
Aye, Captain. And he descends down into the hull of the ship where the mana engine is kept. There's another lurch, and there's a scream as it appears someone has gone overboard.
Do I see it? Do I see it happen?
Make a perception.
Very well. I'm good at that, I hope.
You are, yes. I believe I gave you expertise.
I'm good at that, I hope.
Not with that roll, I'm not. An 11 total.
An 11 total.
Although minimum, right?
What's your passive?
Oh, passive is 17.
Okay. It appears to be, you see a little stubby hand grabbing onto the railing as Mr. Hooper has gone completely off to the other side. He's hanging onto the railing.
I'll rush to his side, I will.
Captain!
Take me hand! Take me hand, Mr. Hooper!
He's not very heavy, so this is...
I'll pull him aboard. There now. Safe and sound. Safe and sound. Lash yourself
The
down
whole
to
ship
something.
lurches 60 degrees the other way. If I can get you to make an acrobatics check.
Acrobatics, alright. Oh, that's a bit better. That's a total of 24.
All right, and your strength is...
My strength is only 10, but I do have athletics.
Okay.
+8.
As the whole thing shifts, you keep yourself balanced, but Mr. Hooper goes flying away, but you're still holding on to him. So the question is whether or not he takes you with him as he flies off.
He's light, though, right?
Yeah, he's a gnome. He's not super heavy, but he is weighed down by a lot of gear. So if you would like to give me an athletics check.
Very well.
Well, they
Athletics,
cremated him,
please.
so he can't weigh much at all, Mr. Hooper.
That's an 18 total.
Okay, you are able to hold fast as he just sort of flies off and then rights himself back. As you see several other crew members jostling about. Now, those of you on deck, such as Loholt and Lindvander,
Yeah.
I will need an acrobatics check.
I was going to say something while you were describing this amazing scene, by the way, and that was, can I have for the big lurch? Can I just like insight that Ariel elf?
Yeah, go for it.
God. Well, in that case, we're going to go with a. That's actually not the worst. It's a 13.
I mean, you've met Ariel elves before.
Yeah, he's untrusting, but what I'm going
Ariel
for
elves
is-
are usually very open. They're oftentimes very welcoming of people. Now, there's been a little bit of a cloisteredness to them since half the world was conquered by magic-hating knights. They've been a little more hesitant towards surfacers since then, but they're still usually quite open. The sort of reservations and the side-eyeing and the animosity that he seems to be showing, this is atypical of the culture of Lunalia, at least in terms of the Arcanists and the Ariel elves.
Right.
But he definitely seems to have some kind of... He definitely doesn't seem to
Do
like
I feel an
you.
alternate agenda for him going down to the ship, or
no,
is he...
you believe that he definitely does not want this ship to fall.
Okay.
There's like an essence of he's not... You don't think he's trying to sabotage the vessel, if that's what you're hinting at.
And while I'm thinking about that, I'll make my athletics check.
Okay. Acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
I'm holding on to
Yes,
something.
you are, so you have advantage.
Oh,
I have a feeling I'll be calling
but it's
Bankwell.
still acrobatics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be
Oh,
delicious.
pair of tens. +2 is 12.
Okay.
A solid 5.
All right, both of you get sent flying as you hurtle across the deck,
Yikes.
and you will fall. Unless you
Oh, we're going over the edge?
You will be going over the edge unless there is something anybody can do about
I mean, I'm okay with that for me, but for her, I'm concerned.
I will Misty Step.
it. Okay. So you misty step back up the deck as the ship kind of rights itself again.
And as I fall over, I'm like, don't worry! Pegasus.
The Pegasus, make a luck roll.
Oh, no.
So a luck roll,
What?
for those of you who don't know, we're going to have him roll 2 d20s, and as long as the second d20 is larger than, or is a higher number than the first d20, he is considered lucky.
Oh, boy. All right. Linvander will be the first. Amberfang will be the second.
Okay.
Linvander rolls 9. Amberfang rolls 2. I am unlucky, sir.
There is a stuttering and a sort of a weird sensation as it seems like the magic that would normally awaken is struggling. And you continue to fall.
Does my inspiration from last game carry over?
Yes.
I will attempt to use that to reroll the second. I
Okay.
can't do that for luck rolls, or?
In this case, I'll allow it, I think.
All right. I will turn my 2 into a 12, which is better than 9.
Okay. So you
Spanko, come to me.
there's a bit of a burst of energy, and then finally it emerges, sort of one wing a little bit smaller than the other as it tries to make it larger, and eventually it does manage to get itself somewhat righted as it flaps itself back up to the ship, soaring through the billowing red mist as you manage to settle back down onto the deck.
Is it fading?
It's sort of, it's not fading, but it is sort of almost winking in and out of, like it's stuttering slightly as it seems like it's struggling to maintain its conjuration.
It's in pain, yeah. All right, I will take it away. I'm probably burning all of its energy anyway.
It is at this point the ship starts to alight itself as you see the telltale signs of the gems that keep it aloft glowing with extra energy, likely being provided by Arcana Squathrin.
All right. I think we're out of the woods. Hopefully.
A little bit of lightning arcs in one of the gems, and that side of the ship dips slightly, and then it begins to glow, and you hear a grunt from beneath you as it then realigns itself.
And they're saying that you're doing this.
And I am doing nothing.
I don't think you're doing it intentionally, mind, but there seems to be a working theory that, a mage of your power and from where you are from might be, shall we say, a bit of a fly in the ointment in this world.
Continuum will study Elminster closely. Give him like, yes. Mhm.
There's a lot to look at.
There is a, yes, I am. Oh, sorry, I'm checking out the mana.
The mana.
The mana, the myth, the legend.
How would you like to go about that?
I'd like to. I think it's an Arcana check. I just want to see.
I was wondering if you wanted to do any like detect magic, or if you're just going to basic Arcana, kind of just seeing if.
Yeah. Well, I have detect magic at will, so I will do that as
Okay.
well.
As you begin to pull through the veil to grab the dregs of mana that seep through sort of the mesh that is the veil itself, there's almost this sort of, again, this disconnect, this disjoint. It's almost like the strands that you're pulling out kind of flicker and stutter, and then you have to really struggle to pull that mana and manipulate it in the way that you normally just do with the flick of your wrist. If you would
Pull
like
that mana.
to also give me a luck roll.
Oh, here we go.
All right. Well, I guess the as they are, the yellow one lower and the blue one higher.
Ooh.
And it's true.
Okay.
6 and 9.
You are able to pull what you need from the mana around you. It's sort of, you have to, as you're pulling it from the veil as you usually do, you realize it's not working. In fact, it's actively working against you. It's almost as if the mana is pulling itself away from you as you continue to try to pull it towards you. So you have to reach out to grab some from the ley line, which is something you're not used to doing, but you're able to sort of figure it out to finish the formula of the spell and begin to detect magic all around you. And what you see is that obviously the ley line lights up like fireworks going off in both directions. You can see this almost like river-like stream as it cascades through the sky, and you can see that it is definitely flowing weird. There's sort of this ruby color cascading through it, as well as this crimson color coming in, and they seem to be kind of running into each other and kind of splashing against them, and every time that does, there's sort of like a disjoint from the ley line. Now, the ship keeps stable at this point as Gwathrin feeds his own mana into the vessel, but you can start to see like these little bursts and pockets along the ley line. The other thing that you see, of course, is that Elminster is completely like, he's not doing anything. He's just standing there. He's emitting magic, but no more than the average wizard would emit. Well, okay, not the average wizard.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He is emitting a reasonable amount.
A 4th of July reasonable amount of fireworks at Disneyland.
A reasonable amount of magic that you would expect from a high-level archmage.
Which is fascinating, but it has nothing to do with what's happening with the ley lines.
It doesn't appear to be connected.
Yeah. Captain Flynt, I think you're right. He's got nothing to do with what's happening here.
Yes, convenient to blame him, of course, but no, he's not at the bottom of it at all, is he?
Which means we have bigger problems.
Indeed we do. Indeed we do.
So the ley line does balance itself out again, return to normal. Things begin to skew as they should. Gwathrin limps up from the hull and just kind of...
Well done, well done.
Goes down into his quarters to rest up.
All right then, people. Seems we're back on an even keel, so to speak, if you don't mind me appropriating a maritime term. Back to your stations, Arias.
They quickly do begin to get back into their routine.
Captain, you said that you've seen this before.
I've heard reports of it. It's the first time I've experienced it myself. At least to this extent. That was not pleasant.
Are the captains of the vessels having conversations about this?
Indeed they are. They want to talk about. And, as might be expected, any potential source of said disturbances is being investigated.
And you said that you saw no disturbance coming from Elminster.
It has nothing to do with Elminster. It's like the mana itself is in opposition with itself. Crimson versus ruby, like it's bleeding or something.
Lupus.
What, do we have to worry about lycanthropes? Is that what you're saying?
No. It is a condition where the body fights itself.
I see. I've often heard there's 2 wolves inside of us all.
Well, there's 2 somethings inside most of us, but...
True enough.
I'll just tap the Banquo and make sure he's okay.
It's a little bit of a ruffle, but...
Well,
this would not be the first time I've looked at a ley line.
Probably not.
Yeah. What color is it normally?
It depends. The general consensus is that the color of mana is ruby, as is found from the elder dragon of magic, Ionia, the ruby dragon of myth or legend. So it is often seen that the color of the ley lines usually shows up as ruby, but there have been like the occasional situation where it has more of a bluish tinge to it or a goldish tinge, often associated with the concept of Renica. It really just depends on the strength and the potency of it. The ley lines are often likened to as a blood vessel or like a vein of the world itself, kind of pumping mana throughout the world like a body would pump blood throughout itself. And so it is often seen as sort of a lifeblood of the planet itself.
So crimson is new then, and is it?
Yeah.
Would I be able to deduce then that might be unhealthy mana in some way?
It's possible. You could probably assume that there's definitely some kind of conflict or
sickness
or a pollutant or something like that.
Interesting.
Can I look into it a little more closely with the detect magic and with my Arcana ability to see if I can see a little bit more about what's causing it?
You kind of continue to try to meditate on this concept, and again, you have to really struggle to get that mana out of the veil. So you still, once again, have to supplement it a little bit from the ley line to formulate what you're trying to do. And are you doing this on the deck, or do you want to retreat back to the room and do so? I would assume that Captain Flynt would prefer the guests not be meandering about on deck while the crew are going back and forth, keeping everything operational.
It might be best if you return to your quarters, but I have a question. My sun pistol and sun sword also operate on magical principles.
They do.
Right. Given the fluctuations we've been experiencing, I'm going to pay a small visit to the armory and just make sure that I have a weapon on me that's nothing but cold steel.
Very good.
A long sword, I reckon.
Sure.
I would also
Can be
like to let them know, when I went over the edge, I was quite confident that my friend would save me. But he had struggle coming out.
Your friend? Ah, the winged horse.
The Pegasus. Banquo had an issue getting it up, per se. He had a problem coming from his plane. He was blocked magically somehow. It took a little effort.
Like trying to push a rope uphill, as they say.
Yes. It's something I've never experienced before. Something that I think I would experience around Eltherian magic, or Eltherian Rennick. But in this case, somehow, I was able to push it through.
No, I'm strictly a layman in these areas, you understand, but what I deduce is that somehow all magics are being disrupted. I've taken the liberty of making sure I've got a yard of cold steel at my side. If any of you are relying strictly upon magic, I might suggest you do the same.
So there definitely is, from your perspective, the occasional ritual gone awry. And you've heard of, like, Gwathrin has been complaining about every now and again things not quite going the way they should. But as for you, Loholt, like, everything seems to be fine.
Yeah, but
Like,
I haven't tried magic yet.
no,
except
but
for
all of
Banquo.
your, but like Caliban, for example, was having no problem roasting Eltharians alive like yesterday.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it's a.
Perhaps it's something up here.
Have I been noticing anything with bardic magics?
Bardic magic is draws from the ley lines as much as anything else, but it's not required to. Bardic energy uses cosmic mana, so you're able to draw it straight from the sun itself. You don't actually need to use the ley lines. So it has been relatively okay. There have been a couple of weird things every now and again, but overall, like, it's functioning as you would expect it to. And even magic itself is not flawless. There are always going to be, like, if you happen to accidentally belch in the middle of an incantation, obviously something is going to go a little weird there. So there have been, it's hard to say what is and isn't, like, oh, I accidentally fluctuated my tongue at that one syllable, versus there is actually something weird going on.
What of your horse friend there? Does he draw power from the ley lines?
So you being paladin,
Figurine of Wondrous Power.
the figurine of wondrous power, it would generally have its own storage of mana, but it would try to seek to pull it from what's around it. I think, based on the line of questioning, I think you could assume that it wasn't so much that it draws from the ley line, but that its proximity to
Whatever was
happening is what caused that.
Yes.
And what time of day is it?
It's hard to tell. You're above the clouds. It's very bright. But you would assume it's probably dinner time, considering you were just having dinner.
Before I go back inside, I just want to look up. I want to just look at the veil with the detect magic up and just...
Yeah, so as you look up into the sky, you can see sort of the sparkling filtration, sort of filmy gray mist kind of just off in the sky, sort of this atmospheric dome almost. It's you can sort of see it with the naked eye, but as you reach out with your magical senses, now obviously the spell doesn't extend out to that much, but you are just sort of being more hyper aware of magic in general, so you can focus in on it, and the sight, the vision of the veil itself becomes a little more stronger. And it is definitely there. It doesn't appear to be doing anything too strange or weird. It looks as it should. You can make out the sun, or the moon's beginning to sort of appear as it begins to get later into the day.
Captain, I have a theory that they're going to try and blame Elminster for this, and when we bring him to the War Council, they might not treat him as respectfully as one should.
Well, do you have any pull with these fellers? I'm just a hired gun myself.
Perhaps there's a way that I could tempt you to be hired working for me then, to protect him.
Well, I am being paid quite handsomely, but I never say no to, shall we say, superior offer.
I'll keep that in mind should problems arise.
Now, how much are we talking here? Let's get down to brass tacks. I do prefer cash on the barrelhead.
How much money is Elminster's life worth?
There are a couple of organizations that I have connections to that I'm sure I could tap some finances from.
Aye.
A connection of mine tends to hold finances for this guild called the Diamond Skull.
Diamond Skull.
He won't mind if a bit of his gold goes missing. Perhaps an artifact, too.
And, seeing as you fly in a ship that goes through the air, what do you think of panties of feather falling? What do you think they'd be worth to you, eh?
Panties a feather falling, you say?
If you wear them under your garments.
Well, I
And-
hardly think it's my business
No,
what
no.
any being wears under their wizardly robe.
And then when you fall, you don't fall.
Oh, as it happens, I actually am equipped, not with panties, mind you, but of something of a similar nature. And I wouldn't want you to deprive you of your silky undergarment.
No, it's not that. But you see, you sell that or give it to someone.
Well, you did see Mr. Hooper nearly went overboard.
Yeah,
I'm
well-
not sure how he'd feel about wearing something shreddy, but I suppose we might talk about such a thing. Certainly a generous offer. on their part.
He's not a paladin, is he?
Not to my knowledge,
Oh,
no.
good, because paladins have to wear them on their head.
Of course. It is something about the holy orders, I believe.
Yes.
Well, I might suggest that perhaps we're thinking a little too narrowly about things.
Compensation.
I know you said cash is great, but favors can be worth far more.
This is true, but both is always good. Both. Yes, both. I think that's probably the best. In any case, I'm not eager to hand over a man of his stature if he's going to be railroaded. I'm not sure if that phrase really translates in this world in particular, but it does on some I've been to. Shall we say blamed unnecessarily?
Of course. I'm simply saying that, as my memory serves me correctly now, this one is of good ilk, and it would be a shame to let some war council decide that he is not, especially since we've now experienced a breach of the ley lines, and together with our combined efforts we've discovered that it is not, in fact, Elminster. No, would I believe it was him, even if there was some shenaniganery happening?
Well, now you know these fellers better than I. I'm only relatively recently arrived on this world myself. Do you think they'll believe you if you tell them so?
Leave that to me.
Very well then.
Oh, I'm getting all tingly.
Drop some Linvander influence on there.
Well, if that's the case, then I suppose we have no worries about just taking them to where I've been told, and I can collect payment from them, and also from you. I like to double dip, so I do.
Perhaps your payment will be collected once we're returned safely home.
Indeed.
You could be our return fare.
Very well then. How far are we from our intended destination?
Not too far off. A few days of travel. Shouldn't take you too long, really. Fairly straight journey.
Then are we to continue on our current course?
Yeah,
We should
the-
be there within 48 hours.
Will
The
step
capital
back.
of Sevalant is very easily accessible by the ley lines and the ley highways. It specifically was erected in the spot where there's a lot of convergent ley lines, so it was super easy to get to. It's just where everybody tends to go, and that's where they position themselves.
Very well. I'm up front with my friends. I'll tell them exactly how long we're going to take to get there, and ask them, do we continue on this course then?
Yes.
Might get some answers, as it were.
Loholt will lean back and say, Captain, it's your ship. Lead the way.
So it is, Mr. Midnight. And thank you for pointing it out.
I'll stick my thumb back in my belt and be a good boy. 48 hours.
Everybody on the
Gonna
ship
kill
is
me.
like, whatever.
My crew is loyal to me and not to our employers.
Except for maybe the winged elf.
Well, he's new, you understand.
Perhaps a conversation with him could be had at some point. But until then,
Mr. Jimsy has kind of walked up with his big hairy feet. I've cleaned the table up of the mess, sir. There's a little bit of squab. I sort of scraped the dust off.
Of course, thank you, Mr. Jimsy. And are your famous desserts ready to be served?
If you don't mind scraping them off of the wall.
Oh,
I can take
never
care-
stopped me before, Mr. Jimsy. It's never stopped me before.
I can take care of this. Lesser reversal, the dessert's back onto the plates.
Done and done. Just everything just kind of undoes itself.
So what you see
Back
is,
on the plates.
so Loholt goes down, he sees the desserts everywhere, and he...
Now, have I ever seen the like of this? I assume it doesn't present itself as a mere prestidigitation.
No, this is not common. You've probably heard of beings with the power to manipulate time. The veil is an ever-present part of Lunalian culture. That they can see it when they look up. And so those who manipulate it are fairly often involved. They're not usually all that down with the common folk, so it wouldn't be something you probably have seen personally all that often, but you may have...
Well, I've heard of things like this.
And then I'll put all the desserts back on.
Very, very useful skill, especially when one wants to retrieve a custard tart from the floor, right?
Can you do that after I've eaten something?
He's taking a bite. That's...
Oh, it all just comes out of your mouth, does it?
No, it just reappears.
I don't know if you want the sensation of the food coming.
I just turn and say,
Fair point,
it
sir.
appears
yes.
that the veil is not damaged in any way. That's good. At least, not this series.
Yeah, it's a start. Captain, perhaps as you're flying,
I'm still intrigued. Could you make poop go back in the butt?
That's where I was avoiding going.
Oh, well, I'm a vulgar man, so I'll just say it out loud.
I
mean, mechanically, yeah.
would Loholt try?
I was thinking you'd never have to fight anything again.
I don't
You just-
believe that the complexities of that is something that
It's a campaign breaker.
I suppose that I could make it go away.
Well, forget I asked. Enjoy your custard tarts, everyone. You were saying.
He looks at the tart and he's like, he puts it down.
Continue.
Hey, I worked
You
hard
were
on
saying.
right, about those ley lines.
Yes, go on.
Just,
How many times can you
Look
do
at
that?
that.
4.
Oh, why, I can have me cake and eat it too.
Oh, poop tarts.
The ley lines, you were saying.
yes,
Well,
the
it only
ley
took
lines.
like an hour and a half. And
Just that if this is the first time that you've encountered a break in the ley lines and the ship jittered like that, and there are other ley lines, and you know, of course, the maps of these and how to navigate them, perhaps it would be worth noting where they are and, you know, if there are others as we're going along.
It
And-
might well be. I have heard many a tale of this occurring. I suppose we could collate what information we have, figure out where exactly these ships encountered difficulties.
Yes, and particularly the moment when it occurs to me that something is occurring there.
Indeed. Or perhaps not occurring. Perhaps, like you say, a break, a
you-
magic,
You
a
are.
null zone, as it were.
I did not take you for such an intelligent being.
Well, I am a caster myself, not one for the book learning.
No offense, sir. Just I'm
Loholt's getting
certain
deja vu again.
intelligent status myself.
Except they're not artificers this time. They're intelligent beings.
They're tart eaters.
It's a bit tarty over here. So I guess we won't learn much more until we get to our location
Yes.
Suppose not.
and see what the War Council has to do with you, and see what the War Council really wants to do with me.
All right.
Well, that'll be cozy.
No. Answer me this. Are you expecting these fellers to be reasonable, or should we go in expecting trouble?
Loholt's going to think back. I mean, he's had very limited dealings with Lunalia. He's destroyed one of their ships, but
From what you've heard, the War Council tend to be very business. They're constantly at war, so they're usually very careful about what all they do and how they interact with the world. They want to make sure that anything that could be a benefit to their military might is utilized, and anything that is a threat to their military might is removed. And they treat every interaction as a military interaction. So they're generally not ones to mess around, but they're also not ones to just... They're not into just straight executions. They usually want to, interrogate and understand what's happening, because if something, for example, could target certain points of the ley lines and cause ships to suffer problems, being able to control where that happens would be exceptionally useful from a military perspective. So it's not of your opinion that they would immediately just, slam things in irons. They'd probably want to try to get to the bottom of this, because they either want to make use of it or they want to stop it, one of those two.
But it wouldn't behoove them to experiment on a person of magic of this caliber or seize your ship for answers.
They're
if they
not
need
known to be particularly, evil.
From what I'm learning right now, you're also a visitor, and they might consider you a subject of study as well.
Indeed, though I've been here for more than a year without any of this going on. Still, the thought of them seizing the ship doesn't fill me with joy. Then again, this is hardly the first ship it's befallen. We'll see, I suppose, but best be on our toes, I reckon.
You keep an exit strategy bright and ready for the grabbing. We'll look after Elminster. We'll see what happens from there.
All right. Finishing up the delightful custard tarts, the wondrous chefery done there, some cookery, as Mr. Jimsy is a man of one talent, but he's very, very good at it.
Well done, Mr. Gypsy. Thank yous again.
Of course, yes. I'll be sure to distribute the hardtack and grog to the rest of the crew.
Oh, yes, do that, and make sure that you get a tart for yourself as well.
Thank you, sir.
And one for Hooper. He had a bit of a spill earlier today.
Sure thing. Takes off as at this point.
Oh, and be sure to unpack some of that illithid we have on ice for Mr. Chumsquid. It's how he got his name, Loves the flesh of the mind flayer.
Okay. The sun has begun to dip as the two moons are blazing reasonably bright in the sky and visible beyond the veil's touch as night has beginning to set in. The ship can continue to cruise throughout the night. The crew can operate off and on, and it's really just a matter of making sure you stay on course, really. There isn't a whole lot else to do unless something happens, at which point all hands would be brought on deck anyway. So you can get what sleep, and obviously the passengers are not obligated to assist with any kind of issue on board. Although if it's all hands on deck, you kind of are, but that would be an emergency situation.
It would be a favor.
Of course.
So you're returning to your rooms then?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
The captain will use his usual routine. He'll probably walk the deck for a time at night, then turn things over to Hooper or the bosun, and retire with a nice bit of grog.
And in the captain's quarters, of course.
Indeed.
Yes. Very good. So the three of you then, as you settle down into your guest quarters, is there anything that that you want to do before any rituals or anything you wish to perform before succumbing to sleep?
I would like to take one more look at the veil now that it's dark, just being so close to it, and it's been a long time. Just want to look at it before I retire.
It is as you remember seeing it, if maybe a little stronger than it was the last time you saw it. Settling down into sleep, then first, Loholt, you dream as you always do, but this time you actually kind of know somewhat of what's going on now as some of the fog in your mind has been cleared. You recognize that the previous dreams were not conjurations of your subconscious, but rather memories trying to escape, right? So you remember seeing Elminster, you remember seeing Merrick's, you remember seeing Indira, and you do continue to dream of them, but it is no longer one of confusion. It is of
I'm gaining my memories back.
remembrance.
Yes, of
You are beginning to restore. You recall traveling through the nightmare. You recall meeting Continuum and the confrontation with Trelial, and you still don't know how your memories were lost, but you know you're starting to get the feel of like there was a whole slew of things that happened that you definitely.
I trust
had
it will
taken
come
away
back
from
in
you.
time.
Continuum, what is it that you dream of as you are now able to dream again, as you're no longer held within a device and just sort of a drifting soul?
I imagine I probably have dreams of being at the university, teaching the students things of the day, but I probably also dream of home.
Okay. And what does Elminster vision in his nightly...
Elminster casts an augury using ritual.
Ooh.
And the augury is, if I cooperate peacefully with this war council, weal or woe. And I'm thinking now, not of me, weal or woe, but
like the grand
the world
scheme of things?
Imaria, weal or woe.
Ooh, interesting. I would say wheel.
What'd you say?
Wheel.
Wheel.
I think this is the first time I've ever actually answered.
Yeah, your
straight
answer
wheel.
is so clear. Son of a gun. It's like my favorite ritual to cast on him, and he never answers it right for me, but he answers it
You
nicely.
gotta phrase your questions.
Interesting. Wheel.
I would say it's a wheel. You feel fairly confident that the greater good would be served. And do you retire to slumber? Or do you maintain yourself awake? Or what's your usual nighttime routine?
I take a short rest.
That's all you need.
And then I stay awake.
All right. And
Write my next novel. Oh.
yeah, if you're not going to sleep, you may as well make productive
yeah.
use of your time, right?
Yeah.
And for Captain Flynt, do you dream or do you often just sort of just wake up and you're like, yes, next day?
No, then. I'm not sure about how biology works in this particular instance, but I believe that if they're existing in a place where time is actually passing, then they would sleep as normal. So yes, the captain dreams of past adventures. And he dreams...
There.
He dreams, of course, the thing that haunts his dreams.
That makes sense.
Astral dreadnoughts. Aye. Its eyes. You ever look into an astral dreadnought's eyes? They've got a lot of black eyes, dead eyes, and a doll's eye. You wouldn't think it's alive at all until it goes to bite you. But then them black eyes, they roll over white. The ether turns red. Oh, wait, where was I?
You had just about gotten to the point where magic won't help you.
Oh, yeah. Now, you see this here, Mr. Elminster? That's the USS Indianapolis right there.
No. Okay. Well, we're going to pass the time. Talking
Comparing scars.
Oh, he'll tell you some wonderful stories.
Oh, yeah.
Push you right to bed.
Yes.
I appreciated them all, actually. Candlekeep,
Astral Dead Knot. Jeff.
Baldur's Gate, and the Sword Coast. Some dark elf named Dritz the Warden.
I heard of him. He's famous.
He's very quite famous.
Mhm.
Mr. Elminster,
Oh, God.
you have not divulged in slumber.
Mhm.
You are instead awake. And are you scribing in your book at this stage?
Mhm.
What is your passive perception?
Oh, boy.
Passive
It'll
perception.
be down at the bottom. there
Yeah,
under your
right
notes.
here. 50.
15. You hear the door to this room
That's why you didn't fall asleep. You
Yep.
smart man.
open ever so slightly, with just a hint of a and a little footfall, like seraphim, just tufted footfalls. Getting closer,
Louder.
spreading about the room.
Is this a special delivery?
There's a quick pause. You can hear like a sharp intake of breath. And then steel being drawn.
Mm.
But we won't find out by what.
Oh, come
until
on.
The next session.
Really?
Cliffhanger now.
Oh, man.
I'll steel myself for the next.